Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to come to you really quick because something over the last few weeks has started coming to my attention. I've kind of noticed a little trend here, and I just want to use mainstream media articles that I've come across recently to kind of paint a picture for you. I'm going to try and withhold personal comment as much as possible. I just want to provide you all with this information, and you can tell me what you think about it after I finish this clip and put it up. Before I get to these articles, which I'm going to present to you all in chronological order, they're all from May, I want to preface it really quick by showing you a little bit of information. Okay, as far as U.S. debt is concerned, debt held by the public, 50% or so of U.S. debt is currently held by foreign investors. And as you can see from this chart, major foreign holders of Treasury securities, the two countries that own the most of the U.S. debt, the two foreign countries that own the most, are China and Japan. And China is actually leading Japan by a little bit. So China owns the most of any other country of our foreign debt at just over $1 trillion. Now I want to go ahead and get to the stories. The first one appeared May 5th, 2012, and it's from Dayton Daily News. Michigan town near Ohio could become China's city. 415-unit housing complex could become home to Chinese business people. The southeastern Michigan city of Milan, a 40-minute or so commute to Toledo or Detroit industrial centers, might become the new home for a 200-acre or larger China city, quote-unquote, that would house Chinese business people. A group of mainland Chinese known as Sino-Michigan Properties, LLC, paid $1.9 million for 200 acres of farmland in Milan city limits. And they plan to build a 415-unit housing complex complete with artificial lakes, 6,000 square foot homes, and a cultural center. And there have been no meetings, no hearings, or any other official action scheduled on the project. And the London Township Supervisor Barb Henley said Wednesday, "My only question is why Milan? In this economy, it's unusual for anybody to say they want to build anything." And these are just in chronological order, not in order of importance by any means. Okay, second clip. This is from May 9th. Federal Reserve grants first approval for Chinese bank to purchase U.S. banks. The Federal Reserve has, for the first time, given approval for a large Chinese bank to purchase a U.S. bank. It also gave approval for two other large Chinese banks to expand their operations in the United States. The Fed approved an application by the Bank of China to set up a branch in Chicago, and an application by the Agricultural Bank of China Limited to establish a branch in New York City. All three applications were approved after high-level talks last week between the U.S. and China. Okay, so that's the second thing. Third, this came up May 13th from endoftheamericandream.com. If we're trying to become independent on foreign oil, why is the Obama administration allowing the Chinese government to buy up U.S. oil and gas deposits worth billions? This makes no sense whatsoever. That's not what I just said, that's what the story says. If you skip down through this article a little bit, it says the first is the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, which is 100% owned by the Chinese government, and the second is Sinopec Corporation. Sinopec Group is the largest shareholder, about 75% of the shares in Sinopec Corporation. Sinopec Group is also owned by the Chinese government. Both companies have been very busy buying up U.S. oil and gas deposits. For example, CNOOC recently completed a $570 million deal that gives it 1/3 interest in huge oil and gas deposits throughout Colorado and Wyoming. And apparently the other company is buying gas deposits in Louisiana, Michigan, Ohio, Oklahoma, and Texas, worth billions. And you can pretty much read through all this article. It breaks it all down. And the author says, where will all of this end? Should all of us start learning to speak Chinese? Interesting question. Okay, moving on. The next story came out May 14th. Ex-CIA chief, more foreign spies in U.S. now than during Cold War. And anytime you see the Cold War, I don't know, maybe this is just me, I always think Russia. But if you go ahead and read the first part of the story, it says a former deputy director of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center who led the U.S. response to 9/11 told 60 Minutes that China in particular is operating a robust shadow network under the noses of American intelligence agents. China has very sophisticated intelligence operations that are very aggressive against the U.S. So that's the next story that came up. Lots of interesting news about China here. Moving on, okay, these next three are all from today, and I think this is what really struck me finally as being something that I wanted to put all together to kind of lay out for you guys. Okay, first, from Bloomberg, China's Wanda to buy AMC cinema chain for $2.6 billion. China's largest entertainment group agreed to buy AMC Entertainment Holdings, Inc. for $2.6 billion, including debt, expanding into the U.S. to create the world's biggest cinema owner. And you get through this article a little bit, and it breaks down a few U.S.-China ties as far as the film industry is concerned. Film industry ties between the U.S. and China have strengthened this year after China agreed to provide greater access to U.S. studios, and Walt Disney Co., DreamWorks Animation, and News Corp formed co-production partnerships that will include some of their biggest movies. DreamWorks Animation will form Oriental DreamWorks, and the AMC deal is being held through Citicorp Bank. So here you go on that. I just want to point out too about that, if you guys may or may not recall, Red Dawn remake is coming out in November, and originally they were going to use the communist Chinese as the bad guy, remember? And then the movie studios decided their bottom lines were a little bit more important than the bad guys and changed it. I think it was, I don't even remember how many millions it was, to change the bad guy throughout the movie to North Korea. Originally it was going to be China, but I guess the Chinese investors don't really like that all so much. And if they can do that before they've even owned the biggest theater chain in our country, I'm just wondering what else could possibly get changed. Strap yourselves in and get ready for some propaganda. Just saying. Moving on. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I promised I wasn't going to make any personal comments. Well, too bad. Sorry. You're going to have to live with it. All right. Next. China is a lead cyber attacker of U.S. military computers, Pentagon reports. A new Department of Defense report warns that not only is China responsible for many of the cyber attacks on U.S. military computer systems, but the country continues to launch cyber operations that threaten the U.S. economy as well, making the Chinese, quote, the world's most active and persistent perpetrators of economic espionage. So this came out today, this Pentagon report. And so if that's the case, if they really are, quote, the world's most active and persistent perpetrators of economic espionage, then why did I see this other story that came out today, exclusive to Reuters? U.S. lets China bypass Wall Street for Treasury orders. China can now bypass Wall Street when buying U.S. government debt and go straight to the U.S. Treasury in what is the Treasury's first ever direct relationship with a foreign government, according to documents viewed by Reuters. The relationship means the People's Bank of China buys U.S. debt using a different method than any other central bank in the world. China, which owns $1.17 trillion in U.S. Treasuries, still buys some through primary dealers, but since June 2011, that route hasn't been necessary. The documents viewed by Reuters show the U.S. Treasury Department has given the People's Bank of China a direct computer link to its auction system, which the Chinese first used to buy 2-year notes in late June 2011. China can now participate in auctions without placing bids through primary dealers. So there you go. That's also from today. So I just want to point out really quick, I actually own a large collection of Asian films, many Chinese films. I'm kind of a big Asian film fan. I love Jackie Chan. He's awesome. I love Donnie Yen. So I have nothing to say personally about that. I just think it's pretty interesting to see all of these things put together, because you're getting bits and pieces here and there every day on the news, and I don't think most people connect all the dots. But this is just stories that have come out since the first week of May, and we're not even finished with May. I mean, I already know a little Chinese myself, but should we all start learning Chinese? Feel free to leave comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys think about. I'll provide links to all of these stories. You can go through and check them all out, and I'll talk to you later. This is Melissa Melton. My blog is truthstreammedia.com.